HRN listeners. As we celebrate our 15th year, we are deepening our commitment to giving voice to the next generation of food systems storytellers, and we need your help. Our internship and fellowship programs help activate new possibilities for underrepresented and underestimated young people through experiential journalism, audio engineering, and production training. Through these unique programs, HRN helps food equity stewards build essential workforce readiness skills that expand their potential and foster economic mobility. Please consider supporting these critical programs. And with a minimum donation, you can be entered to win a dinner for two at an amazing restaurant in one of 8 cities and tickets to a concert at a great venue in one of those cities. We have incredible partners across the country who have donated, as they also share our passion for helping to educate the next generation of food systems storytellers. Check out heritageradionetwork.org/15 to donate and enter to win today. That's heritageradionetwork.org/15 to donate and enter to win today. And make sure you donate before March 31st. Thank you.
This piece was brought to you by Roberta's, robertaspizza.com.
You're listening to Heritage Radio Network. We're a member-supported food radio network broadcasting over 35 weekly shows live from Bushwick, Brooklyn. Join our hosts as they lead you through the world of craft brewing, behind the scenes of the restaurant industry, inside the battle over school food, and beyond. Find us at heritageradionetwork.org.
Hey, welcome to Beer Sessions Radio on the Heritage Radio Network. I'm Jimmy Carboni from Jimmy's Number 43 and the Good Beer Seal. Today is Tuesday, March 13th, 2018, and this is a historic day. We built this show around the greatness of Bushwick and the nightlife community that's been out here in honor of our friend and city council member, Rafael Espinal. Rafael, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Jimmy.
It's been a really big week. We put together special guests like Brandon Hoy, the owner of Roberta's Pizza.
Jimmy.
How are you, buddy?
How you doing, buddy?
And one of our favorite breweries out in this area, KCBC guys, Zack and Pete.
Oh, hello.
All right.
What's up?
And some more of the cultural diversity, Joel, who just reopened the Sampler in on Star Street.
What's up? Shout out to my partners, Leo, Tomeo, and Richard Mercado.
And a special friend who came from Toronto just to be in Bushwick tonight, the owner brewer of Godspeed, Luke Beam.
Nice to be here, Jimmy.
My good buddy who has worked at Dieu du Ciel a long time in Montreal. So, Rafael, the show's about you. We're so proud of the work you did. You know, you helped create the Nightlife office, but you've also brought awareness to the DIY scene and nightlife in general out in Bushwick. And we're based here at Heritage Radio Network. We're based at Roberta's, the heart of Bushwick. Just give us a backstory on, you know, how you came up with the Nightlife office and, you know, the different, what do you call them, partners or, you know, influences that you have to balance when you're doing something like that.
Well, I created the office back in September, and it was my way of finding and striking a balance, a way where the city and local businesses can work together to understand the importance of the cultural capital that these venues produce for our city. And for the past, I would say, 10, 15 years, we have seen a lot of our favorite venues and places close their doors. And I saw it as an emergency. I thought it was time that we stepped up and did something, because these are the same venues that produce that capital that really attract everyone to want to live and move here, right? The reason artists live here, the reason entrepreneurs move here is because New York City is known as the city that never sleeps, the city of opportunity. And the city wasn't really playing that role and giving them the helping hand to keep their doors open. Instead, they were slamming them with fines and finding reasons to declare them a nuisance instead of seeing them as a value to the communities.
Well, cheers and congratulations on what you've done. I know last week you got the Nightmare was announced, and that was big news in New York. But, you know, Brandon Hoy, Roberta's Pizza, you guys were pioneers out here. You know, talk about DIY. What did you do? You took over an old garage. This is the spirit of Bushwick, and to me it's the spirit of New York, and that's why I'm so proud of what Councilmember Espinal has done.
Right, and you know, we couldn't have done a lot of this stuff without people like Rafael, and he's been like a great advocate of ours and a friend of Roberta's for as long as we've been here, and it's important to have that kind of like back end advocation for pushing forward. And you know, the fines and all the money that goes into it is needed, right? Like there has to be some money from our end going back to create the like you know, some economic stability and some infrastructure for all this stuff. But the process and the way that they were going about getting it was more detrimental to the like growth of small businesses than it was helping. And I think there just wasn't a really solid line of communication between like the bureaucracy and what it needed and what the small businesses in the bar and hospitality and nightlife really needed to function. So it's fine. I think everybody understands that when you go into business like this, the government's your partner. And like you just accept that as a fact that like that's going to happen, and part of the money you make is going to have to go back into doing things to make sure that you're safe. This is an environment. If God forbid a fire happens, people are safe. The safety of patrons, all of that stuff is embedded and there and needs to happen, right? But at the same time, it doesn't have to feel like there's an animosity between the two groups. Like we're here trying to do what we do, and you're trying to push us down, right? And I think like what Rafael's trying to do is just open the lines of communication between both sides to say, hey, we're good for New York. What we do is good for New York, and we can have a positive communication amongst each other that's more positive, and that'll be fruitful. And allow other people, and more importantly, allow people who've been here for a long time to establish real fundamental establishments that last for not just the extension of their lease, but for 10, 20 years. Those are the kind of establishments that really like bring culture and community into a neighborhood. You know, we've been here for 10 years and would like to be here for 40 years. And I think like the difference between 10 years and year 40 is a huge difference. The like communal and just economical benefits for that for a community.
It's crazy that you're thinking that way. That's the way people used to always think when they started a business, was the longevity. And you know, so much of the city is about places the leases expired, costs are going up. Rafael, you know, a little more about changes that have happened, some of the DIY spaces that inspire you, that you really care about.
Yeah, I mean, I just have to say it's always inspiring to hear Brandon. I wish he was a nightlife mayor. You know, you just hear his stories and talking about the need for that relationship between the city and the businesses, and also just getting that, you know, the importance of the longevity of these businesses. You know, again, the longevity is what helps build the brand, right? And we know New York City, or people look at New York City and what you think? You think, you know, CBGB's, you think Studio 54, all these old iconic places. I think Roberta has, for the past 10 years, been doing that same work and building that brand and being an integral part of the city's identity as well. So it's encouraging to hear him say that he wants to be around for 40 years, and I look forward to helping him with that.
And I look at places like I look at places like Cats, right, which is like very inspiring to me, and even like Juniors and places like that really were like the, you know, they were the Big Lebowski rug, right? They like pulled the neighborhood together. They were like that piece that just sat in the middle that like connected. That was the fabric that connected a community, that people felt like that was the gathering spot or the watering hole for people in their community to get together and like, you know, like just rub elbows and just like get together and talk about life. And this neighborhood started off, you know, as a very like inspirational, cultural art. It was just filled with artists, musicians. There was just a really cool young vibe, and like there has to be that place where all those people can like come together and like let off some steam and talk to each other and inspire each other. And that's what we always wanted to be here.
No, and you've done it. And we're just kind of concluding everybody in the beginning of the show. So Zack and Pete, you know, jumping forward in recent years, things like breweries, distilleries, you know, have been the new developments for nightlife in the city. You want to talk a little about the process of opening in Bushwick? And then Pete, tell us about the beer we're drinking too.
We all go to sleep at night. We work a lot during the day. But for us, it was you know, we looked for real estate for, God, it felt like forever in our startup process, and kind of kept coming back to Bushwick for a lot of reasons. the history here of manufacturing, of brewing. Honestly, if you go way back to the 1900s, that's where 10% of all the beer in the United States was made in North Brooklyn. And that was Bushwick was a big part of that. And so the zoning was right. We found a great landlord, which is pretty rare in New York, honestly, and we were able to kind of secure the space, and it just felt like a great fit for us. And honestly, the community's been so welcoming to us. Having people like Roberta, these guys are down here who have kind of like blazed the trail and kind of created some really world class food and kind of like community. And for us to feel like we can look up to that, we can get beer over here. They're partners with us. They're great about supporting us and all the local community. And for us to be able to give back to that has been really fun. It's an awesome place to be working, to be making beer. Our tap room is now open 7 days a week. We have a good group of people, locals, regulars, tourists who come from out of town, visit us. The beer scene in New York City has grown a lot in the last 5 years. It's changed dramatically in a good way. It's continued to expand. And I think we're lucky to be part of that.
I think it helps that you guys make a really good product too. It really does. Though
Like,
it's actually
making is so much easier when the fucking
right.
brand
It's
easier to get behind it, and the liquid is solid.
Right, because it's like you could have friends and they could be doing something, but when they're doing something and it's really good, it's like really easy to get behind it.
Cheers to KCBC.
Cheers to good beer.
Quick,
Cheers
Pete,
to beer.
what is this beer, man? It's so good.
This is Chaos and Convenience. It's a 5.2 ABV rye lager with jasmine green tea.
So good.
Yeah, and Chaos and Convenience, incidentally, is my ex-girlfriend's descriptor for New York City.
It sort of sums up the city in a lot of ways. It really is a lot of both of those things, in Bushwick in particular.
Absolutely.
That's great. Well, part of our show is getting everyone introduced before we get too deep. And Joel, you're kind of the new Bushwick, where you reopen sampler
New
Brooklyn,
and old.
whatever.
Like, I was literally 5, walking down the block, looking at burned down houses and fucking destroyed neighborhoods and people I didn't know why were they standing on that corner. And like to be at this point is pretty awesome that I could literally go around the corner to Wyckoff and get like a dank IPA or like a easy drinking lager. And I think like the community has really gone up, but it's also about the old community and making them feel welcome. Like a lot of people are still here and they feel uncomfortable when these new spots are like not their aesthetic or not welcoming them because they're people of color or things of that sort. So our whole mission statement is literally introducing people. 80% of our clientele doesn't know anything about craft beer, and it's about not having an attitude with that person and like telling them about the culture behind beer and saying like, hey, we grew up here too, showing them the art, and then new people welcome them in and saying this neighborhood was this way and like this is what we're trying to do and this is what good beer is, and just like fusing all that. So that's why we highlight all 5 boroughs, all city ales and lagers, just like the movement of graffiti and hip hop and DJing and rapping and dance, all that is what we're trying to bring full circle with, like even metal and punk and skate culture. So that sums it up for what we do.
Yeah, it's cool though. It's cool though because that's like really the like biggest thing is like you don't want to come into a place and just like take over and fill it with like whatever you're not like gentrification just in general, right?
Exactly.
There's a difference between like enhancing a neighborhood and bringing amenities to a neighborhood and like understand like you need to be accepting to the people who were there before you and not even accepting. That's even actually a bad word.
They trapped out here kept this place
embracing
together.
embracing of like the tradition of Bushwick's past and like and like the like need to understand and be educated about like how we got to where we are, and even going back to what he said that this was Brewer's Lane, man. This was America's
Germany.
The center of brewing in America was right here.
7 breweries in a 14-block radius.
And that
So
like
that's-
came and went.
It's one thing you guys are all saying in the sense that the city's always changing too, and we have to keep up with it. For Rafael, if you know everything these guys are saying, I mean, you also have to find a balance, right? With the nightlife office, with clubs and everything. How do you go about that?
I mean, I think the balance comes down to how the city decides to respond to a lot of the issues, right? Right now, the city believes that enforcement is the best way to go, and I think that if enforcement is your only reaction, you're probably too late in figuring out what's the best way to move forward, right? So the Office of Nightlife's main goal is to figure out how do we manage for the future? How do we look at development in a way where we can incorporate nightlife and businesses and manufacturing into the conversation instead of just thinking of building housing? Just having conversations with business owners. One of the main issues that they always see is that people, when new buildings come up, the 301 complaints that come in that lead to enforcement come up because of the new development without taking into account that there was existing business in place. Roberta has told me many stories about their situations, and I've heard it across the city. So it's about finding that balance, making the community understand the importance of these businesses, figuring out how the businesses can embrace the community, and also the communities can embrace the businesses that are around them as well.
No, that's a great attitude. Luke, you're visiting us from Canada, man. You're the star on my show. I love the beer you used to make at Due to CL. I know you were in Japan. Coming to Bushwick, from Toronto, I mean, how does it feel to you? Is there a good nightlife in Toronto? Do you feel like Bushwick's a special place?
Yeah, I mean, listening to you guys, we have Toronto wants to be the next New York, right? In a way. I opened a brewery on the east side of Toronto. It's kind of probably upcoming area. Very I've been hearing similar stories. From you guys. I mean, what I live, right now. I mean. Cheers.
This new beer's dank, Joe.
More beers.
Yeah.
More beers.
I'm not quiet like
Yeah.
KCBC.
More beers. More beers.
No, I used to have a love and hate, relation with politics, and now everything changed since I opened. Before I opened, like my counselor, if she was not there, I'd probably not be open yet. She's been amazing. I mean, she's been there every day, texting me, calling me dude. It's amazing. And the mayor came to my opening I opened July 1st, Canada Day, 150th anniversary of Canada, and the mayor of Toronto came to my brewery to congratulate me. So there's a lot of, the politicians are really, really trying to help the small businesses in the craft beer movement in Toronto, which is kind of
Rafael, that's one thing I hope that the office can do, because there was one time when Mayor Bloomberg was the mayor, we did a thing called July Good Beer Month, and 5 years in a row he issued proclamations that July is New York City Good Beer Month, and he even put words like suds. He had some fun with it, or his team did. And we hope that the city can recognize things like New York City Beer Week and club openings and things like that. I mean, do you see that's where the Nightlife office might go?
No, of course. It's all about culture and figuring out ways where the city can play an active role in being supportive of it. It's funny that we have some of these brewers here. I actually had a conversation just a few weeks ago about how can we include the breweries into the Office of Nightlife. So there is this recognition of the work the breweries have been doing for our city and the growth of it, and just trying to figure out a way where we can include them into the overall conversation of nightlife as a whole.
Yeah.
Great. We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back in a few minutes on Beer Sessions Radio. All right.
My name is Brandon Hoy, co-owner of Roberta's, a super duper awesome place. Roberta's is a very, 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 very proud sponsor of the Heritage Radio Network. We're also super awesome. Thank you, Heritage.
Hey, welcome back to the craziest Beer Sessions Radio episode ever. We're talking about Bushwick and Nightlife. All right, Brandon Hoy, Roberta, I just heard you on the ad,
Yeah.
I love that ad.
I don't even know what it said. I don't have my earpieces in here, but I'm sure it was good. I'm sure
So
it was
we're
acting
like, we are
crazy.
reaping the benefits and celebrating with Council Member Rafael Espinal
Salud.
for the new Nightlife mayor in New York City.
You know, one of the things that I think Rafael did that was really impactful was like urban planning was always retroactive, right? Urban planning was always like an oh shit measure. It was like, oh shit, this is happening to this neighborhood. How do we fix it? And I think like what's coming out of this is positive, is a proactive look towards how you can make a neighborhood, how you could grow and develop a neighborhood, and like thinking about like what things need to happen. And one of the big problems we had was we caused it on ourselves, right? We opened this and it became incredibly popular. Then in turn, the neighborhood became incredibly popular. Then in turn, rental rates went through the roof. Now my neighbors pay an exorbitant amount of money to live here and they don't want to listen to me. And like, though they came here because we created a cultural like centerpiece for them to have amenities in a manufacturing neighborhood, now they're like, well, I pay $4,000 for a 2-bedroom apartment. Like, I really don't want to hear your like music at 10 o'clock. And I think that's the kind of urban planning that you need to be proactive. And so in developing of new neighborhoods, there needs to be a conversation. So like as you're building these expensive loft studios and all of this stuff, there needs to be an understanding that businesses existed here before us. And as we moved in, we understood it. We were very cognizant of the Wonton Factory, Martin Greenfield, Boar's Head, all the people who were here 20 years before us. They were our neighbors. And when we got here, we were like on our knees being like, what can we do to like help you like make this better? And I think that's like the important thing to take away from this is that Rafael's just trying to create this line of communication for people to just make the development of a neighborhood easier and just more accessible. So you know that like you understand that a neighborhood isn't just built on places to live. It also has to have the laundromat. It has to have the
That is
corner
so beautiful
store.
that you say that, literally, because like you get people that move into the neighborhood and complain like someone was talking in front of my window. Like, motherfucker, someone died in front of my window.
Yeah, totally.
5 or 10 years ago. Like, you're lucky someone's just talking. And I respect what you're saying. Like, I just want to give
Let's
you a
just
shout
toast
out.
to this dank beer. Hold on. Quick, back to the beer.
More
Pete,
dank
what's
beer.
this beer?
More dank beer.
Yeah, please.
More dank beer.
Sorry,
This is
Katie,
dank.
and
Oh,
Liz,
dank
in the
It's very sour.
It's
engineer
dank
some
and
tartness.
pink.
Can't drink right
Yeah,
now.
this is a collaboration with Prison City out of Auburn, New York, and it's a hibiscus honey double
I was there
IPA.
that day, wasn't I?
That's right.
I walked over to Casey. And
Yeah.
that's one thing I want to say steer us back to this whole thing about, you know, Brandon, when you said be in business for 40 years would be like a junior's, I forgot that's an important part of business and community. And, you know, when I think of your guys' places, you're like landmarks. Like, you know, I'm from the country, so you know there's that tall mountain. That's where you're going. Well, when I go to Jefferson Stop on the L train, I want to go. I know where KCBC is. I know it's welcoming. Now I know that Joel's at the Sample on
Right
Star
around the
Street.
corner.
Yeah. The same thing here. Roberta's, it's always like go to Morgan Stop, go to Roberta's. The only time I ever came here for years was because of it. But if you want to say something about that, Rafael, the importance of like these places becoming institutions for the neighborhoods for the good of everybody.
No, super important. Again, it's about creating identity and creating the culture. I mean, I can't say it enough, right? How do you become part of the city's fabric? And the fact that you have business owners who want to become part of the city's fabric because they want to contribute to, again, the cultural capital, what the city's producing.
We'd love to be
think
here for 100 years.
Those
It's
are
cool.
those are the people you want to support. Those are the people you want to get behind of, and that's what you want the Office of Nightlife focusing on. Instead of seeing businesses as a nuisance, seeing them as a contributor to the overall ecosystem of how the city operates and works.
And then,
I kind of look at it like a neighborhood is not very much different than a hotel, right? What does a hotel need? Like you need turn down service. You want a pool. Like you want there to be like nice soap in the like it's amenities, right? And you don't like choose a hotel just because it has like a nice bed or it's the place to stay.
Brandon's good. He talks with his hands too.
You
I like
want,
that.
yeah,
On radio.
I do. You need amenities. amenities. Like you move into a neighborhood,
can't even hold
or
a
a neighborhood's
beer.
appealing
He's talking
because
with
it has amenities. It has things that are great that people want, and people move to New York because they want nightlife, and like the bar and nightlife and hospitality industry is such a deep, rich part of New York, the fabric, of New York culture, and it always has been, and it is why the city never sleeps, and it is what makes it great and cultural.
Yeah, and listen, I'm gonna be honest. My biggest heroes through my 20s were all these guys who own these restaurants and bars, and I'll tell you why. I grew up in East New York, one of the most disinvested neighborhoods in the city of New York. I had no place to eat. I had no place to go out and have a good time. And I had to leave my community to go to Williamsburg, to go to my favorite dive bar, to go to my favorite music venue. I went to Bushwick to go eat Roberta's every day because that's what I enjoyed doing, but I couldn't do it at home. So, just the fact that, to recognize that these businesses do create a space where community can come together, community can feel safe with their families or with their friends, and be able to express who they are and enjoy their time together. I think it's important for every community to have that, and this is why businesses like Roberta's and these big venues are important to every single neighborhood.
Rafael, when you talk about when you were younger, are you 21 yet?
Is this
33. I'm my Jesus year.
Hey.
Cheers to that
All
guy.
right. That was good.
And then, cheers to everybody. This is a really fun show so far.
Yeah.
And we're trying to tackle some deep issues, but
We do. We got some more.
It's definitely what he's saying. Like I remember growing up in the Bronx and like having Bronx Underground and First Lutheran Church and Ambits. And like you look at the Bronx and you go, oh, that's fucking a borough, whether it's hip hop. No, we literally grew up on metal, ska, progressive rock, and like because of those venues, because of those bars that we couldn't drink at, but we're throwing these things, they kind of helped us find community and like an alternative to whatever else is being offered on the street, which isn't always positive.
But diversity touches everybody, right? Diversity is a tool that no matter what race, creed, color you are, it touches everybody. And diversity is an important thing for all cultures. So even if you go into a neighborhood that's predominantly Latino and you're doing something different, like as long as they're accessible and understanding and accepting, like your what you're doing is for the good of everything.
Take some time to introduce your brand and talk about what you're offering, why your beers is expensive, why the alcohol's a little higher, why you're investing $72 on a case of beer, $110 on a case of beer. Like the program that you guys are running and I'm running and they're running, like it's literally expensive, but we're doing it. We're making that sacrifice because we love this shit.
But it's expensive for a reason, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Good things cost money.
Yeah.
It's not like there's somebody on the other end who's like driving a Ferrari.
No.
It's expensive
You could be
to
doing
make good
PBR
things.
buckets if you want and making like twice the money.
Also, New York is expensive, man.
it sure is.
Oh, it is. It doesn't. Yeah, it hasn't gotten cheaper. That's for sure.
Okay, let's move this on to more nightlife. So the other thing about the nightlife office and the whole aspect of nightlife, especially in context of new developments and housing, is nightlife good for New York? And how can you recognize that that's a thriving part of our city that people like all of us care about?
I mean, is water good for a plant? I mean,
wait, say that one more time.
Is water good for a plant? Nightlife is important for cities. You go to cities that are aging, where you have the government complaining about how they have an aging population. You look at their nightlife, you can see why that's the case, right? Young people do not want to go to a place where they don't have access to a bar where they can listen to music, a restaurant where they can eat some good food, and that's all essential in order to give the city an interesting aspect, or an aspect where creativity can flow and be created.
That's great.
How do you meet your wife, your future wife, if you don't have anywhere to go? You know,
church.
And then Pete, you guys, I went over to KCBC. Let's talk about this beer because that's a big part of what's happening in Bushwick. I remember when Brooklyn Brewery decided to not move out of Williamsburg and reinvested in Williamsburg, and suddenly every brewer from around the world that was flying into New York City would stop by, see Garrett Oliver, and make a batch of beer. I was at KCBC 3 weeks ago during Beer Week, and I walked in, and you had Prison City from upstate, and you had Pure Project from San Diego there. It was unbelievable. So and now we're drinking a beer from that collaboration.
Yeah, I
right?
mean, New York City is an international city, so we definitely get a lot of traffic. We've got a brewer from the UK at the brewery right now. We've been over to the UK and made 5 collaborations. I've been down to Costa Rica, going to Argentina and Brazil to make beer, all across the country.
Germany,
yeah. Yeah, we're paying a premium to be here, no doubt about it. But we're in the spotlight, so it's good. It kind of has paybacks for that.
Yours. Tell us more about the beer again. You made it with Prison City.
Yeah, this is Prison City
dank.
collab.
Is this dank, Joel?
It's a double IPA. It's a dank.
It's pretty dank, and they use hibiscus to give it this beautiful ruby red color. And I'm like, why is this shit red?
Is it Citra?
And I'm like, oh, let me look at the can.
And you know
It's
what?
amazing.
The only reason Brandon's on the show is because he's probably the biggest beer fan here.
Oh yeah, I love beer.
You like this one?
Yeah.
Rafael, you like beer too, don't you?
Oh, I love beer.
He loves New York City
amazing.
beer.
Yeah.
This is what is it, 20 or 40 pounds?
40 pounds of hibiscus, so
Hibiscus, which is very acidic.
It's almost
and
tart.
it comes across almost like grapefruit.
It looks like grapefruit.
It's got that tartness, a little bit of pithiness, and it dropped the pH a full point. It's got a wonderful color to it, and then we kind of soften that with some basswood honey, and then it's got Citra, lemon drop, and Equinaut hops
nice.
at 8.2%.
You know, the other, I want to.
Boom. Very tropical, fruity, lemony.
I want to get
citrus.
Luke back on because Luke is one of my favorite brewers. He's from, originally from Dieu du Ciel in Montreal. When you were first, when we first met, the early days, craft beer, even 10 years ago, Dieu du Ciel coming to New York City was rare. You stood out. There were only like 4 breweries in the city. Now, there's almost 30. There's 30 breweries in the city. Have you got a chance to check out the craft beer scene here in your short visit?
Yeah, no. Well, yeah, I went to Fifth Hammer today, and you guys.
In Queens and KCBC.
Yeah, KCBC. And yeah, that's about it. I'm here for 24 hours, so I have a tight schedule. But yeah, it's amazing. I mean, it seems like it's growing a lot. I mean, 5 years ago, like you were saying, it's not much happening. And I always wondered, the reason why I'm in Toronto too, because Toronto is the 4th biggest city in North America. People don't know that, I guess.
That was news to me. Did you know that, Raphael?
I didn't know. I didn't.
And,
Brandon
yeah, and nothing was happening in Toronto. And
Don't tell Drake that.
Yeah.
I think Drake happened to Toronto.
So, and after Dieu du Ciel, I went to Japan. I opened a brewery in Japan, and when I decided to come back in Canada, I say, hey, Toronto is the land of opportunity. There's nothing here. And I thought I was smart, and now they're popping everywhere. It's a little bit like here, I guess. Yeah. I mean,
and then for Zack, for you and Pete, being here in Bushwick in New York City, having these different brewers stop by and say hi, it must be a real thrill for you, isn't it?
Oh, it's fantastic. We love, we love visitors, we love traveling, we love collaborations. We talk about our collective. The C in KCBC is at the end is Kings County Brewers Collective, and for us that means the 3 of us, Tony, our third partner, and Pete and I, all collaborating, doing kind of like feeding off of each other, coming up with new ideas, sharing that kind of creativity, and doing that with other breweries or non-brewers, people from the neighborhood or the Sampler. We did a cool beer with these guys for Beer Week.
When's the Roberta's beer?
It's coming. It's coming. We should totally do one. I think you heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen.
And Brandon, you've done a great job. You've got a Brooklyn brewery, Roberta's Lager.
Yeah, I think our first one was with Shane at 6 Point, and then we've done Brooklyn Brewery, LIC.
The Pizzagate beer.
Yeah, Pizzagate.
Pizzagate,
Yeah, that was controversial. It sure was. It still is to this day.
Anyway, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more with Rafael about the other cities that are influencing New York that we can influence in the nightlife scene on Beer Sessions Radio. All right. Woo. Woo.
Hey, like what you hear? Heritage Radio Network has plenty more. With fresh programming every week, we've got something for everyone. Trying to start your own food business? Concerned about where your food comes from? Looking for the best wine or beer to bring to a party? Find our shows on iTunes or Stitcher, or head to heritageradionetwork.org to listen live and subscribe to our newsletter.
Hey, welcome back to Beer Sessions Radio on the Heritage Radio Network. Hey, check us out, heritageradionetwork.org. And this show tonight is about Bushwick. HRN opened, 9 years ago in Bushwick in the heart of Roberta's Pizza. So Rafael's got a question about all the breweries in New York City.
I'm just baffled. You know, a lot of the craft beers I drank were from Portland, and now I feel like New York City all of a sudden has become like the place to drink beer at. I'm wondering what's the interest in New York City?
Well, there's a couple of things. One, there's a lot of people here, and at this point in time, you think about breweries per capita is a statistic that people talk a lot about in the industry, and how many breweries are there in any given city per million people or per 10, hundreds of people. And with 8.5 million or whatever the number is, don't quote me on that, for New York City statistics in the 5 boroughs, there's only about 35, 37 breweries here in the city. And that's incredibly low in terms of, relative density across the United States. And that's one of the reasons why I think you're seeing a lot of growth all of a sudden. There's breweries who have suddenly realized, like, wait a minute, there's an opportunity here.
And a lot of challenges.
And of course, and yet, the reason it's only 30 is because it's still very expensive. It's still very complicated to get the materials and be able to get labor and balancing your budgets and just real estate. It's really just very challenging.
And one thing I want to add, because we've done a lot of shows about zoning and manufacturing in New York City, and I don't want to tell you the secret is that as more breweries are opening, somehow usually a different agency figures out, there's something that we have never either permitted before or asked to be permitted. And that's what usually happens is you've got 20, 30 breweries opening, and suddenly one of the city agencies will say, you guys have to do this. And no one's ever asked that before. And that's the scary part is as things become more successful, the regulations kind of tamp it down.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, again, the city is always behind on any trend, and I think that has to do a lot with the fact that we don't have enough young people in office. But I think that the city finally is recognizing the amount of breweries that are opening. The state is actually recognizing that, and they're at the table. So it's going to be interesting to see on what the city comes up with in putting up that support base to making sure that these guys continue to grow.
And then, Rafael, I want to ask you, you've been able to travel a little bit. Some other cities have kind of set the bar for the Nightlife office. Tell us about that, the other cities that are inspiring what you're doing and that you guys will look to influence as well.
Yeah, I mean, so the Nightlife office came off of an idea that started in Amsterdam, and they created the first night mayor. And the job of the night mayor in Amsterdam, as we know, is probably one of the most controversial nightlife scenes in the world, was to build relationships between the community and the businesses, decrease quality of life issues and concerns while increasing the quality of the businesses that exist there. So I took that idea from that city, and after we implemented it here in New York City, L.A., D.C., New Orleans, Pittsburgh have all been working to create their own nightlife commissions and nightlife offices.
Just in the last year.
Just in the last year.
Wow.
And it's super exciting to see that, but I see it as competition as well, right? We have to make sure we stay ahead, make sure we continue being the most interesting city, because now we have other cities that are hip to the movement and want to make sure that they become the best city in the
So we like breweries, we like distilleries, we like all that stuff. What are some of the aspects of New York City nightlife that stands out for you? And we'll ask everyone in the room, too.
Rock and roll, pizza, and beer.
Sounds like Roberta's, Brandon.
I was like, I don't know. Can I just ditto that? It's like it's the same thing. Yeah, I think you're just looking for some place that's like you want that like cultural, inspiring place. It actually doesn't matter. I think rock and roll represents just like an idea, right? It's like all those things. Is it inspirational? Like, are you going somewhere where like you could be a 23-year-old kid and see the future of your life? Like when you're growing up, you're looking for yourself. You're trying to find what it is that you want to do. And like, that's why you're out searching for these things. And that's what made New York great. For me, I came here in my early 20s. I think I was 21 years old. And like, I'm 40. I learned a lot of things about my life. And like, I learned it from all of this stuff, being able to go out and just find things that interested me.
Pete, anything about New York nightlife that inspires you?
I don't know. I don't really have a nightlife anymore.
You got kids, don't you? Me too.
No kids. I just work too much, and my couch is pretty comfortable.
I shouldn't ask everybody. Forget it. Your rest of you guys are cut off. Dank IPAs. That's what I like.
Dank.
And is there another beer, Joel? You're trying to redo the sampler in Star Street in Bushwick. You're adding art components. Some cool stuff. Where do you think the future is for nightlife here? And it can be in a place like yours. You look kind of like a
I mean,
beer bar
yeah,
that's a
we're-
gallery. I like the
Exactly.
art gallery aspects a lot.
Yeah.
We're pushing the buttons of what people are scared to do. We did Black History Month with 3 African American brewers or black brewers. We did Omnipolo from Sweden, Ethiopian brewer. We did Brooklyn Brewery, Harlem Brewery, and then we put a bunch of dope ass fucking graffiti artists from Brooklyn and the Bronx and all over there were black. Because it's like, we need to represent like all cultures as one. In order to become one, we need to bring everybody at full scale. So March is Women's Day, International Day. We gave girls a whole month. I'll give a girl a year because they deserve that. They really put in work. People like Anne from Fireborough, Anne from fucking Treadwell, like all these girls grinding and doing their thing and like representing beer and representing art. Shiro from Japan that just did an installation in our spot. Like,
So you're a platform, but also
we're trying to just fuse it
I posted from you guys. So the graffiti artist was it Dos.
Those Walnuts, yeah, he did some really, really, really dope shit, and he was part of the whole February month thing.
Yeah,
And then we'll do Cinco de Mayo with like fucking drinkable lagers and fucking crazy cholos with like their top button opened up teas and
I'm
shit.
going to that.
Yeah, like, do some margaritas and shit. Just
But
like
that-
constantly
that's also
changing
why-
the aesthetic and giving back to the community.
props to Joel because he just kind of reopened Sampler, and in the context of what we're talking about for the show, you reach out to us, and to me that's what Nightlife is about too. You're gonna have art, you're gonna have music, you're gonna have culture.
Exactly.
Even though you're focused on beers, you go beyond that, and that's also what I like about the brewery spaces. And we're talking about what the Nightlife office does. Brooklyn Cider House just opened out here. Every brewery is a space. And that's the thing, that you've got occupancy. You can host things. I mean, what are some of the things that you guys host?
Oh man, we've done all kinds of things. We did a really cool series with the Audubon Society, Pete's a big bird watcher. I'm talking about Pete for a minute here, and bird lover, and the Audubon Society came in, did a beer collab with us called Safe Flight. We did it last fall, screened a really cool documentary to raise awareness about the work that they're doing, and brought a whole bunch of people in, did a little kind of Q&A. That was pretty awesome. We host there's a local group that's really working with on the waterways and on the kills and trying to kind of like raise awareness about water health in the Bushwick neighborhood. They came in and did a cool event with us. We got the Providence House, which is an awesome charity that helps out homeless people. They're going to come in and do a fundraiser at our space in a month or two. And we've done bottle shares for beer lovers,
Homebrew parties, and
we do
so you guys
homebrew
are
parties.
community space.
We love the community. That's a big part of our
Sometimes you just need to have a video camera in here and watching Jimmy just like sign languagey, trying to get shit. Like somebody's talking,
just trying to get a
like
beer.
He's throwing
maneuvering,
mad gang
he's
signs
like
up, like-
pointing at microphones.
I'm like,
throwing
what gang
signs.
what gang are you in,
Like,
Jimmy?
nobody knows what he's talking about, but he's like, if you had a camera on Jimmy right now, it would have been the most amazing thing you ever saw. He just like navigated all types of things just using his
No,
hands.
but
I'm like
it's-
you. I talk with my hands, right, Rafael?
It's amazing to see a
definitely.
dope ass fucking brewery like KCBC finally open in Bushwick and do beer so well and like pay attention to detail, have DJs, have pop up chefs, and like they're literally, I love them so much. Like they're a good space.
But what is Bushwick?
Why is
So,
he giving me money?
Bushwick, East
He just passed the
Williamsburg.
20. Like I gotta cut you, boy.
Wait, you got there's new breweries. There's Brooklyn Cider House, KCBC, Grimm, Evil Twin's supposed to open. What is Bushwick, East Williamsburg? Is Grand Street stop on the L? Is that
I mean,
Bushwick?
technically, don't hate me. I mean, Bushwick starts on the Flushing line.
Yeah,
right?
this is actually East Williamsburg.
This is East Williamsburg
I
here.
still actually call this the EWIP because this is the East Williamsburg Industrial Park. This is actually a section of East Williamsburg that's differentiated
So
from
on the
whole-
corner of that, what's the meat company? Everyone knows it. The famous meat
Boar's
Boar's
Head,
Head.
yeah.
Their plant's right here, right?
Yeah, across the street.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But
I mean,
this is a weird place. And
I think
Oh,
that
yeah,
if
this
you're
is-
an
Raphael
They
was
do Taste
really
of Bushwick
important to
every
us
year.
here.
But
Really.
I think if you're an old school New Yorker from Brooklyn, you would say anything in this area would be Bushwick. You know,
So if you go back way back, then Bushwick was.
But if you go way back, nobody even talked about this neighborhood because you know what happened here? Like there was hookers and there was like people making like nuts and bolts. Like a lot of this stuff was like metalworking and like a lot of this was like really heavy industrial.
Wasn't Roberta's like an auto repair shop or something?
Yeah, well, where the takeout and delivery was Oshot's, he actually moved to East New York, Best Auto, and he was like a great friend of ours as well. Like he really helped us like in the early days of everything. And again, this goes back to like knowing your neighbors and why they're important. And like it got too expensive for him. He had to move to East New York. But this whole compound was they were doing tap and die. So this was all manufacturing. This was all, they were making nuts and bolts in this place. And this is like really heavy, like industrial neighborhood. You see there's 3 concrete factories in this neighborhood. This section right here, the East Williamsburg Industrial Park, is a weird zone that nobody wanted to claim. And like when we came here, we were like, fuck it, we'll put our flag here. But nobody really wanted to be like, nobody wanted to be like, yeah, this is where we're going right here.
What year did you open? 2008 or 7?
10 years? Yeah, 2008.
I remember there was a woman I knew from the food scene that she was like, I'm working at this pizza place called Roberta's.
Do you laugh at her?
No, I don't laugh at people, but I didn't know where the hell it was, and I'd never been out here. But Zack, your place, so on Troutman Street, the Jefferson stop, what was your building before you guys opened KCBC?
I mean, it was just a warehouse. I think this dental supply company was in there, and then back before that, the place was kind of falling down. Our landlord bought it for, I don't know, pennies, I'm sure, because he, it was falling apart, and he came in and was like, "This is an opportunity." And the neighborhood's obviously, changed a lot. I think in the 10 years since he took it over, and I mean, it's blown up right now. It's cool. The Bushwick Collective is, a lot of the graffiti is kind of based in and around there. Joe's project that he kind of curates, and they have a block party every year. There's new restaurants and stuff going in. Seems like every other month or so.
It's amazing. Let's get Rafael. So last couple of things. So
Faro's cool. Awesome.
Behind the Nightlife Initiative, some of the DIY spaces, which are like kind of like a lot of us have opened a space where we care. We're hosting cultural things. Maybe we're serving food and drink. What are some places that are on the verge of closing or have closed that you wish you could save?
I mean,
or maybe it's too late.
Yeah, I mean, I say this with a heavy heart. Actually, this morning, Silent Barn on Bushwick Avenue announced they're closing
really?
April 30th, and because they couldn't get the economics to work. So, I mean, there's a lot of great places around. There's still the Market Hotel, Trans Picos that run a lot of great shows. And
they've got KCBC down there.
KCBC. They give a platform for a lot of the young artists in the area looking for a place to showcase their music to perform. But to see some place like Silent Barn that use their dollars to become legal, to operate under the city's laws and regulations, to close their doors, kind of sends a signal that the city needs to act quick, And I'm hoping with the announcement of the new Nightlife mayor last week that they actually get to work and figure out how the city can support those spaces instead of, increasing regulation.
That's it. Like what Brandon was saying about being a 40-year business. Maybe we need to go back and think that way, because I forgot that could even happen, and you guys are heartening and giving me hope for.
But it's the business that just wants to be there for the term of their 5-year lease that's actually detrimental to all of this stuff. It's the business that's like in it for a money grab. That's like, I'm just going to take advantage of a cheap rent in a poor neighborhood, and I'm going to use this 5 years to like make a money grab. Those are detrimental to the cultural fabric of a neighborhood, and those are the things that you shouldn't be looking for. Like if you're not going in expecting to be a long-term tenant and to make long-term like an investment and put some skin in the game and really go in for it, then you're in it for the wrong reasons. And I think those are the things that actually like detract from what a neighborhood's identity is.
I know we got to shut down soon, but this is some of the special. Roberta's gives us this awesome air conditioner. You guys are awesome. But dank
Except
IPAs,
it was 86.
Is there a little bit of cynicism in that?
No, I love you, man. Beer stuff. So who loves dank IPAs? Joel, I know you do. What are some others that you might recommend before we sign off? Because this was an awesome one. Thank you, Pete and Zack.
I mean, it's about making drinkable beer. KCBC makes a thing that doesn't taste like just straight up powder and hop powder. It's about making the little malt character kind of blend with the IPA and be clean and drinkable. I mean, obviously, we love all the half, Finback, Single Cut, Killsborough, Gun Hill. The list, literally anybody that exists.
And we know that
today.
you know.
New York's
It's
making
so
great beer.
good. Yeah,
New York City's got
everyone's
Braven.
making good fucking beer.
Braven Bushwick Pilsner.
I mean,
He likes that one. But they got to make it in Brooklyn
I
first.
mean,
So
you gotta make more than 3 beers to be legit.
we're diehard. Rafi,
Shout
we
out
are
to
diehard about the places that are making in Brooklyn, making it in New York City.
Yeah, it's a lot harder.
And Brandon, we're gonna go inside, have a little pizza at Roberta's, and sit and talk. What on draft should I be drinking tonight? Or in can? You had some great beers earlier. That
I
you
mean, the
recommended.
first one I'm gonna recommend is the LIC
Pizza Gate.
It's so good.
Yeah, which is the DDH, like just a cool beer. Again, like I think it comes back to this like whole. I hate to even call it a trend, but it's just like a drinkable beer. And I think
Flavor.
like on the West Coast, like where a lot of this really kind of like formulated from and started from, like they just pushed hopness and like really strong flavors to the like fullest extent, which was super cool and like great for beer. But I think like the New York style is more refined, and I think what they're trying to do is bring it back to kind
Pilsners
of
and
man,
pale ales.
We took it back.
some of that bottle.
We let them rock
fermented,
for 10 years.
Some of that like it's
Look,
like
Brandon, I'm signaling.
Yeah,
Cheers.
you are.
Okay, we're gonna wrap it up. And big shout out. The big event coming up is our 7th annual Brisket King NYC, and it's very relevant this week because there's some controversy about what's the best barbecue? Is it Brooklyn or is it Texas? And the mayor actually said it was Texas, but it's more than that. The whole brisket scene in New York City is based on the ethnic cultures that we have, and the Jewish kosher guys have been making some of the best brisket in New York City. So April 25th, brisketking.com. You're all invited. I know you're going to be there. You're going to taste a mix of barbecue and other creative chefs and kosher chefs. It's the night to be out. So everyone, let's go around the room one more time. Say your full name and where you're working, and we're going to do a sign off.
Zack, Kinney, KCBC.
You know I love you, man. These guys started as home brewers with a vision of a brewers collective.
Luke Beam Lafontaine from Godspeed Brewing, Toronto. Thank you, guys. It was amazing listening
Welcome,
to you guys.
and good luck with
cheers.
Godspeed.
Cheers, thank you.
Joel Suarez from the Sampler, Bushwick, right around the corner from my brother.
And what's your Instagram?
At the Sampler BK at Uptown_Ales,
Uptown,
where I
that's it.
talk
Uptown
shit
Ales.
about the
All right.
beer industry.
Pete Lengyel, KCBC.
Who's been traveling the world making beer? And this guy, crazy guy.
Brandon Hoy, Roberta. I'm not gonna say anymore.
First time ever on Beer Sessions Radio, man. He's good.
I'm Rafael Espinal. You can find me on Instagram, RL Espinal. And I'm having an event on April 4th celebrating the night, especially the Brooklyn nightlife at the Market Hotel.
Cool.
Excellent. And you're going to share that on Instagram and everything. So, guys, thanks for coming out. Big shout out to our producer, Justin Kennedy, engineer David Shore. And then we got, I don't know what it's called, the studio anymore. It's Katie and Liza, the HRN team who so inspires us and keeps this all going. We'll catch you next time on Beer Sessions Radio. All right.
Shout out to Jimmy,
Ow,
too,
ow,
man.
ow. Yeah,
Jimmy, come on.
Thanks for listening to Heritage Radio Network, food radio supported by you. For our freshest content and to hear about exclusive events, subscribe to our newsletter. Enter your email at the bottom of our website, heritageradionetwork.org. Connect with us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at heritage_radio. Heritage Radio Network is a nonprofit organization driving conversations to make the world a better, fairer, more delicious place. And we couldn't do it without support from listeners like you. Want to be a part of the food world's most innovative community? Rate the shows you like, tell your friends, and please join our community by becoming a member. Just click on the beating heart at the top right of our homepage. Thanks for listening.